Right at the back, huh, Will?
Yeah, in fact, a little off the back.
Yeah, that's my move too. You know, I realize that like when I'm going to be in the back 10% of a big field like this, I may as well be all the way at the back. You can kind of roll circles. You don't have to be right up against another rider. You can like chill a little bit on the clip in. But what a course to choose to start at the back. This is day number 8 of Chicago Grit, formerly known as Intelligentsia, and this is a pretty tricky course we're going to talk more about. What was the thought process starting at the back? Was it just you got there too late or something?
Yeah, actually, it was a weird thing with the officials where they like told us we couldn't stage on the grass, and then everybody who staged on the grass was like told to move, but they didn't, and then they lined up and got the perfect spot in the corral. So it was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have listened to that official, but it caused me to be like dead last. I just took that for what it was.
Dead last out of 140 or something, 130?
Yeah, somewhere around there. It was too many riders to be dead last on this technical course, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and speaking of that, chicane. So let's talk about the features of this course. So we just went through a chicane that you navigated pretty well for being the first time through it. And then you're coming down this hill into a ripping fast left-hander.
Yeah, and this left-hander has like some bumps. You might be able to see Brian Gomez hit that bump right on the inside of that corner there, and it's a pretty high load corner. Like if you mess it up, if you go too far outside, it's a little off camber too. And then you're into this like uphill, kind of want to pedal, but are scared of clipping a corner last corner, or scared of clipping a pedal last corner. So it's a weird course for sure.
Now you're going up this hill, back to the start finish line, and we're going to talk about how to navigate a course because clearly you're not in good position right now. And there's a couple of reasons. The obvious one is like you can't win a bike race from 120th wheel, right? Like that's kind of the no-duh reason this is not a good position. But look how far back you are. I saw riders entering that corner ahead of you like 30 seconds before you were. So we're going to talk about how to efficiently move up. And like I said, the first thing is the first reason why you want to do that is because you want to get into a race-winning position. The other reason, which people think less about, is like, especially on a hard technical course like this, is there might be a split or a crash or just a dropped rider in front of you that is gapping you off, and you don't even realize it. You might have all this fitness, and you might be fresh, but you might be just losing the race because you're just not aware of what's going on. But moving up, I mean, the first thing you just demonstrated right there is like consistency is efficiency, right? You stayed on the gas whenever the other people weren't. Tell us about that, Will.
Yeah. I feel like one of my biggest tactics, knowing the course is really helpful. But if you don't know the course, just like try to keep it as smooth as possible throughout the entire part. If everybody's going hard, you're going to have to go hard, but you don't want to go harder than them, and then you don't want to brake harder than everybody else at any point either. So just trying to keep your speed as consistent as possible, like throughout corners, throughout technical bits. So like on this uphill, everybody's going super hard right here. Well, not in this corner, but we've got a kick out of this like into the uphill. So we're all doing 700 watts, 600 watts. And you can see my buddy Chris on the right here, and he's going to move up at this like 600 watt section. He's doing, I'm sure, a lot of power right there, huh?
Out in the wind, yeah. If you guys are doing 500-600, he's doing like 800 or 900. And you're going to demonstrate something really, really perfect right here, which is like just chill. When everyone's going hard, they're going to slow down, and that's what they're doing here. And again, like we said, consistency is efficiency. Look at his power numbers. Well, now you're doing 200, passing riders at 200. You don't want to pass riders when everyone's doing 600. You want to pass them when they're doing 0, right? Everyone was coasting, and then you just continued moving right up along the side of the group there. You passed like 4 or 5 riders. You did the same thing on this other straight on the last lap. And then we're going to show a few more examples of basically the same thing. Because here's the deal, guys. Like moving up in a crit, yes, there is a prerequisite. You have to have a certain amount of fitness. But otherwise, like, it's all just about staying consistent. And I know we've already talked about this, and I preach this on the channel all the time, but it's because it's so important. Consistency is efficiency. Will said it perfectly. You're trying to smooth out that effort over the course. Now, in crits, that's almost impossible, right? You can't just have like a constant 300, although that would be ideal. That's another benefit of being towards the front, another motivation to get towards the front. But if you can just minimize the number of times that you are doing this like leg breaking 800 watts out of every corner, the better off you're going to be. And sometimes that means giving up wheels. Like Will right here, you're giving up a wheel or two. That's okay, because you're going to make up that and more in the next corner. And by the way, who's this rider on your right moving up in the orange? He's doing the same thing, right?
Yeah. Gomez and I both started dead last, and we've got to work our way up to the front, because that's kind of both of our jobs, like patrol the front and not be cracked once we get there.
Right. So to drive the point home, the difference in fitness between the guys who win these national level races and the guys who don't, the fitness level isn't that much higher, if at all. Like the guys who are winning this race, it largely comes down to how good they are at moving up. There again, Will showing us once again, like a little move up there, 4 or 5 riders at a time. That's what it looks like. You're going to be able to just kind of chip your way through this field from 130th wheel right up to the front. And we're going to talk about how he gets there, but first, a quick message from today's video sponsor, Ketone IQ. If you guys remembered in the last video I did with Will, I sent him out a care package, which included some of Ketone's new products. We have a redesign, a new flavor, and now it includes 100 grams of, imagine if it was 100 grams of caffeine. No, 100 milligrams of caffeine, which I think is the perfect formula, because caffeine makes me sharper, makes me more alert. I absolutely love it, except if you're doing twilight crits later in the day, especially at night, which is exactly what the Chicago Grit series is. So you can see here that Will, looks like you opted for the original formula, now in a pouch, no caffeine. Good enough for Team Visma, Lisa Bike, probably good enough for us. Check out the link in the description. It's an exclusive deal. Save 30% off your first subscription order and receive a free 6-pack of Ketone IQ with code NorCalCycling. So thanks, Ketone IQ. Now back to the race. About halfway through this race, less than halfway through this race. So you made short work of this field. Now look at that promised land. There you are at the front, 175 beats per minute. It's not easy, guys. Don't be mistaken. It's still not easy. We're sitting here in desk chairs talking about, hey, this is super basic to move up in a pro level field. But there's Gomez. He moved up just like you did. You guys chipped away at it, and now he's attacking and you're following. This is kind of what you have to do, right, Will?
Yeah. I mean, I know Gomez and I are probably in the same condition right now, and this is a good move. There's, I think, Ty Magner up off the front, and there's a breakaway in front of that too. So I know this race is starting to break apart. Like, all the guys at the front have also been burning matches, trying to go off the front instead of moving to the front. So everybody's tired, and you can kind of see that from their body language and their faces in the rear camera too. But now's a good time to start making those positive moves for sure.
Now you're actually consequential in this race. It took a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. It's a tough thing. I hate to keep talking about it, but that's the last thing you learn as a cyclist, right? As a competitive, especially crit cyclist, is the moving up part, right? You can train yourself into crazy fitness, but if you don't get that part figured out of when to move up in a field, it doesn't matter how fit you are. You're not going to find success. Dude, you are smashing on the front right now. There's still a group up there, right? Oh, yeah, I can see that.
There's a group, and I really was convinced that this group was going to make it, so I'm doing kind of a last-ditch effort to get across. You can see my heart rate is, creeping up 10 beats per minute higher than it was last lap at this point, and here we have Gomez going across again, and so it's definitely splitting up at this point.
Dude, it's on. Over 27 kilometers still to go, but look at, your effort, and then Gomez's counter attack really did a number on the field too. They're all breaking apart. You got a gap behind you, so this looks pretty good. Now you're in this chase group, hopefully connecting with the group ahead. But dude, 183 beats per minute, that's about as high as I've ever seen your heart rate.
Yeah, I am pretty cracked right now, and it looks like Gomez is too, and Noah Granigan here on the left also is not going to pull too hard, so that means we get countered by Ben Oliver and the rest of the field there, unfortunately.
The race leader. Yeah. All right, well, let's fast forward a bit and see how this works out for you towards the front. All right, so a few kilometers later, and breakaway's about to get caught. They only have 2 or 3 seconds, and you are ready to go, right? You're going to follow these Rainstorm riders, and look at that gap that he finds, the non-existent gap. That makes them harder to follow too, right? When somebody shoots a gap like that. But you're on it, and there's the breakaway of 3. And God, the Mighty Q guys were just represented, right? They were doing so well.
Yeah, absolutely. They had 5 or 6 dudes that were super strong, and they have 2 in almost every move, and it paid off for them during the race series. But yeah, sometimes they wouldn't let gaps go. Like you can see, I think Josh Burnett on my wheel here for IQ, he's not letting that gap go, and it's just keeping it all together. It's in these races where you have like a super hard race, you don't know if your teammates can like stick it in that breakaway. People are getting really tired, and everything's strung out, but like decisions are a lot harder to make as far as tactics go.
Right. I think you told me this was the hardest stage at I was about to call Intelligentsia at Chicago Grit this year.
I'd say so.
Yeah, which I totally believe. I mean, just the course alone, and then the way the race played out, saw you doing efforts with your heart rate up in the mid 180s halfway through this race, and still the gap didn't go out. So clearly a very hard race. And I wasn't when I did last at Elgin, it was a completely different course. Last year, this is the course that was canceled because there was a thunderstorm. But in any case, more counterattacks. You can see IQ still represented. Legion was up there. I think there was a Blazer up there, race leader. So yeah, I mean, you can just look at people's body English and tell this has been such a hard race. I'm curious to see how this plays out. So, Will, that brings us to the end of this race. We're 3 laps to go, and it's all together for a field sprint. Well, and I say all together, like out of the 130, 140 who started, there's probably 40 or 50, right? Because such a hard race. This is how some of these Chicago Grit races work, is like they're just so hard and fast that people just can't really hang. It's not a breakaway per se, but it's just like attrition, right? So you're up here in the hunt still, but how much energy, Will, have you used trying to get into a breakaway, and how much do you have left to be in the chop here for the last couple laps of what is going to be a pretty exciting lead out? We shall see. But paint us a picture here. Who's on the front right now? Who are you following? What's the dynamic?
Yeah, the Miami Blazers are up on the front. They've got plenty of dudes. They've got Johnny Clark, Noah Granigan, I think Eder Frere was up there. So you can see they've got 4 guys up there at the moment, just trying to keep it fast, keep their guys in good position, which is crucial on this course in the last few laps, just because you kind of have to get to the base of that hill in the top 5 wheels to make anything happen. And there will be a drone shot that we can show of like exactly how it all shook out in the end. But yeah, you can see Wolfgang on the left fighting with Alfredo in the rain train. The guys just have to defend their own train. So it's getting, especially for solo riders, it's getting really expensive from an energy standpoint to like be up here and fighting with guys who have dudes to defend them, sweepers, that kind of thing.
Right. No, totally right. I mean, that's the reason for the lead out. But what's interesting here is you see like these lead outs of like 3 riders. It almost looks like it's a Cat 3 race or something. I mean, take away how fast you guys are going. But you just look at like, why don't we have this big, 8-rider lead out from Legion or something? And the reason for that is it's been such a difficult race. If this were a 4-corner Southern California crit, you would see that crazy like lead out, of 8 riders per team. But it's all been kind of pared down to like these like 3 guys just doing their best to get their sprinters in position. Rainstorm's doing that. You saw IQ had a couple of guys on the right a second ago. And then Blazer's still on the front. Like, dude, they must have taken that up way too early, because I think they only had a handful of riders. I saw some of their lead out guys already dropping back, and we still have a lap and a half to go. And then guys like you, Will, no teammates, just like trying to salvage a result from the day. I put you kind of in the same camp here as the IQ guys. Like, clearly strong, but like how much energy has IQ committed to making the breakaway work? And the breakaway's not working. There's a Blazer falling back like I was just talking about. So that makes me think like, yeah, IQ's strong, but like you can't go for the break, have it not work out, and then execute a really strong lead out. That takes something really special. You kind of have to pick one. And you're getting swarmed a little bit here from these other riders. How are you feeling about your position in this moment? 1 lap to go.
Yeah. I was actually pretty okay with my positioning here. I knew like some other spots to move up on the course, and you might see me try and do that like into the chicane. But I'm on the Rainstorm train, so I feel like they're confident in being here, and they're probably going to do like a concerted move at some point as well to try and get up there. So hoping I can follow that wave. You can see Tom Chester on the left, the Australian, trying to make his move, and everybody's sprinting.
I was just about to say, yeah, all the Rainstorm guys are now just kind of like disjointed. Like this is like a Cat 3 lead out, not because these guys aren't skilled, but because it's been such a hard race up till this point. So now it's almost like every man for themselves. And I don't see any blazers anymore, except this one rider. I think it's Tyler. Well, this is their sprinter in front of you, right? This is Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler, and he got really chopped into that last corner, so I kind of like sat on his wheel and hoped that he would make up that little gap into the start finish, and luckily he did. But yeah, it was just like so iffy into that chicane, and I think he took the brunt of that, losing most of his momentum.
Yeah, you got shot pretty hard the corner before that from the rainstorm guys, and it looks like that's it for Tyler. You're going to stand up and give it all she's got, which is not your normal 1,300. It's more like 800, 900 after such a hard race. And you roll in for what, 10th, 12th, something like that?
I think it was like 12th place after that.
Winner was?
Ben Oliver from Above and Beyond Cancer Cycling. So he had a good sprint and in the leader's jersey.
Yeah, good for him. Well-deserved win. Super exciting footage. Guys, we have a ton of footage that Will brought back, making me super jealous from the Chicago Grit, which I was not able to make this year. So get subscribed. We're going to be rolling more of these out. Thanks for coming on, Will.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.